Okay, good afternoon and aloha from Hawaii. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz and I'm joining you from livestream.travel to celebrate or continue to celebrate the launch of the World Tourism Network, what is going on all month in December. We have a lot of interesting sessions like this one, what is now coming up will be about the island of Seychelles in the Indian Ocean. If you wanted to know more about World Tourism Network. If you haven't joined World Tourism Network, there are free options. Just go to wtn.travel and you find all the information. If you click on the banner on top or up on events or launch events, you will see what is upcoming. Tomorrow morning, for example, for those that are still up in the United States, I know it's evening now in Los Angeles and quite late in New York, but if you're up, we have a very interesting session coming up in regards to the state of the aviation industry in the US. But there's a lot more and we welcome you and thanks for joining us again. Special thank you. I see some of the faces here. I see Stephen and some of the other people who have been on sessions before. Thank you for that. Also, welcome to everyone on Facebook, on YouTube, and everyone on eTurbo News, on aviation, on Hawaii News Online. We got you in because we're talking to our sister islands on the other side of the globe. And I wanted to say a special welcome to Sherin Francis. Sherin is the CEO of the Seychelles Tourism Board, and she must be one of the hardest working women in the Indian Ocean, if not in the world, because the Seychelles is a very special place. It's an island group with less than 100,000 citizens, I believe. Just actually came out of a general election and they have a new president. I don't know the name, but she would probably be able to share. And the Seychelles is really a paradise on earth. I had the privilege of visiting the Seychelles a number of times, and every time I come back and say, this is so beautiful. But it also has a lot of similarities with us in Hawaii. The picture you see behind me is on our beautiful North Shore here on Oahu. And it could be the Seychelles, you know, on a rough surfing day, I guess. And so we have a lot of similarities, I think, between our island group here in Hawaii and the island group in the Indian Ocean, the Seychelles. Welcome, Sherin. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you, Jürgen. Thank you very much for inviting me on your platform. It is always an honor and pleasure for me to participate whenever it's possible. And welcome to everybody following us from wherever you are across the globe and through the various platforms, which I understand the live streaming are being aired. I'm pretty sure on Facebook, I know a lot of people do follow as well. So a very good morning. It's very bright and sunny in Seychelles. And for those who are in lockdown, you should be extremely jealous of me. I get to live in that place. I cannot ask for a better place to live right now. And I'm happy to be on the platform, Jürgen. Very happy.
No, thank you very much. And Seychelles, of course, we all have one major discussion point in the world. We have one common enemy and we have a common friend almost because it brings us all together. It's never been that easy and people have never been so accessible in the world to talk to each other. And I think when we get out of this nightmare of COVID, we might have a better world in travel and tourism. And just last night, we actually discussed Seychelles. We had Dov from Israel on our session, and we talked about the outbound travel market from Israel. And he said people are going to the Seychelles like crazy right now. And
Yes.
I didn't even know that. And we write about the Seychelles at eTurbo News almost every day. I haven't followed it. Tell us a little bit more.
Um, yes, actually, this is a little bit the topic of my conversation today, Jürgen. And it's basically how right now, because of the global situation we are facing, the tourism trend is completely the reverse of what it would have been last year or even any previous years. The number one factors really influencing travel right now are the travel restriction that exist globally. So what we are seeing is out of trends that would have never existed before, perhaps. It is developing because of travel restriction or the easement of these restriction. So we have places where there are pent-up demands. People are writing to us like crazy wanting to come to Seychelles, but unfortunately, because of restriction in place, they cannot travel. And then we have places like Israel, where on 16th November, so it's not even long ago, 16th November, it came on our permitted list of countries. So it was one of these countries where you can travel to Seychelles without the need of a quarantine. And equally, around the same period, Seychelles also went on the list of Israel places you can go where you don't need to be quarantined on the way back. So this is the two key events which happened, and overnight, I'm just using the word overnight, we started seeing Israeli traveling to Seychelles. So we almost have each and every day a flight landing here in Seychelles with between 100 to 200 passengers, visitors coming from Israel. We have Air Seychelles doing 3 flights per week right now, but we also have 2 charters. We have Akia, which have done quite a handful of charters already. We have a charter company. They have used Air Seychelles aircraft for charters, Spirit World, and we also going to be having Elal very soon for the Hanukkah holidays. And like I said, it's almost every day we have a flight landing from Israel. And this is actually my very first point on the shift or the shift of travel trends. It's the fact that travel right now, it depends on who can travel, where you are allowed to travel, what are the measures in place. Everything is pending on these travel measures. And of course, health is the new USP for the moment. So any destinations who can really prove I have good procedures, I'm going to keep you safe, I'm going to make it safe for you to travel. It is these visitors, these destinations, sorry, rather, it is these destinations who are actually getting the meager amount of visitors traveling right now. So it's going to be here for a while. It's probably going to be a trend for a while until we are post-COVID, until it depends on how fast the news of the vaccine, the new vaccine, how fast positively it develops and how fast it can get to countries, and various citizens can be vaccinated. So it's going to be a few months, maybe. There are countries which will move faster than the others, but until we have COVID, I believe travel trends are going to be dictated by the travel restriction in place. So I was talking about pent-up demand, and we would think people are poorer, having gone through a pandemic which have resulted in economic recession in a lot of countries. So obviously here you're thinking maybe travel is not on people's mind right now. It should not be in actual fact when you think about perhaps people who have lost jobs and everything else that have happened throughout 2020. But what we are seeing is totally the opposite of the story. Um, uh, we From where we're sitting, we do get travel inquiries on a daily basis, and like I mentioned, we have places like Russia, which is still not on our permitted list, unfortunately, but we are having huge amount of inquiries. And we can see through various market intelligence systems we subscribe to that there are actually demand. People are searching for holidays. People from America are searching for holidays, and a lot of other countries. So what if I would summarize that little bit is that the demand is there. Maybe it would not be as big as 2019. Maybe it would take time for us to get to the same level of demand for travel as there were in 2019. But the demand is there. People want to travel. There's actually a terminology which has been developed in the travel industry right now, which is called revenge travel. It's the fact that people have been for a long time in confinement, especially like now in Europe, where there has been the second wave and lockdown as a result, which means um, people are they have to stay inside, and as much as travel is not right now in economic terms, it's not a necessity. When you're facing you're in an economic recession, you'd want to save your money for essential goods and services. But given the lockdown, the psychological effect it have had on people, the fact that a lot of families are being separated because of the various restrictions in place, travel has now become one of these necessities, which in actual fact it should be a luxury, but for one's state of mind, they want to travel. They feel the need to travel, to get out. And I'm pretty sure a lot of countries, once the infections are put at bay, once the country open up, give the blessing for their citizen to be able to travel for holiday, I'm pretty sure we will see a surge in travel just as a result. And this crisis is very, very different from the 2008 crisis. I know in a lot of webinars I participated in, people people would tend to compare this pandemic, this crisis, with the previous one. The previous one was a financial crisis, and the effect on people disposable income and salaries and was greater to a certain extent. I believe for this one, we have still a very good chance to be able to recover, for the travel industry to recover from this shock, as long as we are able to control um, the pandemic. And here, this is where the news of the vaccine is very much welcome, and we hope it move faster, and it becomes it is shared globally, worldwide as soon as possible, because I believe that the world has a good chance to be able to recover from this, given that travel is not yet a thing of the past for people. Um, Here, perhaps when I'm talking about travel, it's important for me to also mention that market intelligence now, having data, having understanding the future, understanding what's coming is sort of the name of the game right now. If you don't have access to data, you cannot plan at all as a destination. And it's even worse now that before you used to look at forward booking data, especially for Seychelles, we could do that well because our visitors were booking 8 months, 9 months in advance of their travel. So there was a trend. There was a trend, and probably when you say you 3 months to maturity, say you now November, and you see your December is not looking good, you already know you're going to have a bad December, because normally within 1 month of travel, not really much people book, except maybe for very close markets like the UAE, which is a last minute market for us. But from Europe, you realize if you're on the 4th of December and you have not made your bookings for Christmas, it's not coming from Europe. You might as well forget Europe, focus somewhere else, focus in the UAE because they are closer, they are last minute. But right now, the trend is totally reverse, right? People are booking within 10 days of travel. There is an airline coming from Europe where they told me they fly to Seychelles every weekend. Most of their booking they get within that week of travel. So this is the as a result of the pandemic, the travel restrictions, the health measures, the people are just waiting very, very close to travel, to the travel date for them to actually make the booking. And because of that, it's impossible for you to be able to understand the trend. And I'm pretty sure it must be really, really hard for airlines putting flights on certain routes, because you don't know how well you will do until the last week, until the last day. So having access to data, as much as it's not as much as before, but it's still important. And here you have to go one step further to know what are people thinking, what's on their mind, what's the searches like. You have to follow and monitor people's behavior. So we are even going as far as understanding, every time somebody goes on internet and search, what are they searching for? When are they searching for you? When they go through reservation system, when are they searching for Seychelles? What period, what lag time are they searching in? So it at least gives you the idea of what the demand can be like. But I know it's not a good measurement of what the actual business would be like, because a lot of people can search, but because travel restriction is the number one reason why people are not traveling, then it makes your life very hard. People travel can be on people's mind, but if they cannot travel, then the demand can be there, but you would not get the business. But at least it gives you hope that should the travel restriction eases, then it means you most probably as a destination can receive the business. So I think one of the trend that is worth mentioning, I've talked about the travel restriction, I've talked about health, I've talked a little bit about the economic recession, and the next one would definitely be having insight, having market intelligence, having as much data on hand, because as a destination, for you to at least have a little bit of foresight, planning, and everything that comes with it, you just need to be able to know what are the trends, what are the consumer behavior, what are they thinking, if we are on their mind. Because at the end, you still need to market, you still need to continue to stay in people's dreams, even if there's the travel restriction, but a little bit of foresight will help. And when we are talking about trends, I think this is my next few minutes would be focused on that. Who are the people who will be traveling in the next coming months, and if ever they are able to travel? Um, uh, we, if you'd ask me as a tourism professional, um, given that we are having a lot of virtual interaction, um, us in the tourism world, I think this is how the business are being done when it comes to the human interaction. Because we always say tourism is a people business, and you need to keep on interacting with people. You cannot be an island on your own. So a lot of these are being done virtually. People are really more confident about using various virtual means to communicate now more than ever. So because of that, I believe business travel would suffer for a while, because if you find it's much more cost effective for you to do your business via virtual means, you probably, from a cost point of view, probably continue for a while. So I would totally see business travel would suffer for a while, and so will be the MICE segment as well. When you look at meetings incentive, conferences. Again, until travel confidence go back to what it was, I think people would still have a bit the fear of traveling, especially if you're going to places where there are large groupings of people, conferences, exhibitions as well. It involves large grouping of people. And even with the vaccine, as I'm probably following online, there are still a lot of people who are very uncertain about the vaccine, whether they should be taking it, whether it's safe. So there's still a lot of doubts in people's mind, which gives you reason to believe that even with a vaccine, it will take a while for things to go back to some level of normality. So and you need this travel confidence for people to engage back into the MICE segment. And if you ask me, other segment that would get affected in 2021, it's group travel as well. Group travel, if it's a extended families, very close friends, this probably will grow. But group travel in terms of unrelated people, where travel agents just group them together for a travel to destinations, that I don't see it picking up for 2021, unless new things comes, which is definitely not on the radar right now. And cruise travel also, if you'd ask me, I think that also will take a while to be able to pick up. And probably the vaccine would play a very important role in putting this particular travel sector back on its track. Um, so what will be in vogue for 2021? I would, if you'd ask me, um, I'd say perhaps nature travel. There's more and more people are seeking for to go for what they call the second city travel, places which are less crowded, um, places where they'll be in the outdoor. Remember, people, a lot of people across the world are being confined into their homes for long extended period of time, and it's actually when you are deprived from something, you want it even more. And this is where you deprive from simple things, simple little things that you used to take it for granted but now has become luxuries. And being in the outdoor now, it is a luxury. And I totally see this as a trend for 2021. And definitely family travel, extended families joining together in various destinations to reunite. This is a trend we're seeing on Seychelles as well, because families living in different parts of the world, they cannot visit each other because probably of various restrictions that exist in these places. So they are using the opportunity of destinations which are already open to be able to reunite as families and to spend time together. So it is a trend which I believe will continue for 2021. Luxury travel, and here travel by private jets and would also be inclusive in there. These are the segment of people who have probably been less affected by the pandemic. They are probably also working in sectors that have not really been touched greatly financially by effects of the pandemic as well. And these segment of people are still traveling until today. If you'd ask me about private jet travel for Seychelles, it has not been affected at all for 2020. It was only during the period where we were actually in lockdown and we were not welcoming the border was closed, was practically closed. This is the only time that we were not receiving private jets. But once the border reopened, we were receiving as much private jets as we were getting in 2019. And actually in August, we were receiving even more than the 2019 level. So this is a trend that I think it will continue for 2021, and it's probably an opportunity as well. for certain destination. And while I've mentioned, I think nature travel would be in vogue, travel in the outdoor. I think for Seychelles, it would be an opportunity for us to push our climate change agenda, because as you would know, Jurgen, and I think people following, Seychelles have been a champion in terms of climate change issues worldwide, in carrying the flag for environment and sustainability. And we've had debates. I've had debates with many people about this topic, telling me, don't you think now that we've been through a pandemic, a lot of governments, economies, they don't have money to be able to spend on sustainability because, rightly said, sustainability costs a lot of money. And probably you would not be having those philanthropists donating for environmental causes. So there are a lot of people who are skeptical that perhaps the whole climate change agenda might be affected, and all the work we've done on sustainability, on banning plastic and all these things would go down the drain. But if you ask me my point of view on this, while we talk about 2021 travel trends, I think here we have also an opportunity. If I've talked before about how I believe um, people, a lot of people across the world have been affected psychologically by the pandemic, and little things that we used to take for granted, like being outdoor in nature, are now luxury. And because of we've been able, through this pandemic, people have been able to come to this point of appreciating Mother Nature as it is, appreciating what the world we live in, not the bling blings of the world, but nature in general, breathing pure fresh air, being outdoor and enjoying the nature as it is. I believe this is a chance that we should also use to create more sensitization and awareness about the effect of how our how our daily human activities are affecting the planet and the world. I think the time is right and opportune for us to really talk more about this and push this more, and for us to be more sustainable as a destination, to get our visitors to believe in our cause, to participate in our cause. At the end of the day, the COVID-19 has been very hard on us for 2020. It has affected our way of doing things, our lifestyle drastically. But if you'd ask me, climate change, perhaps because its effect is slow, we don't see it as much like the COVID-19 pandemic, but the devastating effect it will have on the world, on our trend, on our lifestyle, it would be even greater, and it would be more permanent, the damage. So if you look at COVID as a tidal wave, in a gentle metaphor I'm using here, if you're looking at at COVID-19 as a tidal wave, um, it is much smaller than the climate change tidal wave, which is probably way bigger. And once it hits the shores, it will sweep all of us. And I think this is how I should close my statement on talking about how we need to embrace the new industry shift. Is about the fact that moving forward 2020, this is the time where we really need to look at the basic of things. I think tourism, the word should be, as an industry, it should be sustainable, because it's like the industry that will help a lot of countries to bring people out of poverty, to spiral economic growth. But for it to be able to do that, it needs to be sustainable. But we should not be saying sustainable tourism. Tourism should be in itself synonymous to the word sustainable. Um, so I think I should leave some space for remarks, for comments, for people who want to ask questions. But this is a little bit my sharing on how I see things. I see tourism evolving in for 2021, and of course, as and when we get the vaccine in play, depending on how fast this progresses, it would probably change a bit the dynamics of things.
Sherin, this was fascinating, and no wonder Seychelles is taking such a leading role in answering to this climate change. While you were talking, I looked up some numbers here, and I saw Seychelles only had 183 cases, and you had 0 deaths. Is this a mistake? Or I hope not.
0 deaths, and we still do not have community transmission as well. So no spread in the community. So far, all the cases coming in are actually imported. We have very few cases where it's been transmitted locally, but it's not in the community. Like, for example, we've had 2 health workers very recently, a few days ago, who actually got infected. It was our first 2 health workers ever since we had the pandemic. And we also had 1 staff from a resort as well. It was our first staff from the resort as well, ever since we've reopened. We've had a set of procedures for the reopening, which we call the risk filters. Like I mentioned in my presentation, health is the new USP right now. And for us to be able to reopen the destination, it was important that we have the set of risk filters to ensure that visitors coming in are as safe as possible. There are any risk filters you have, I have to stress on that point. It's not 100% safe. It's not 100% mean that you will not get any COVID in the country. But the risk filters is there to minimize the risk to as low as possible. And this is what we have done with the various protocols we've had in place. And of course, once the visitors is in the destination, we always have to be mindful for the first 14 days they are in the country. They can, if they are one in the very few who actually still were able to come in the country being COVID-19 positive, we need to have protocols to ensure that they don't infect anybody and it doesn't spread. So this is what our focus has been on. And of course, a lot of the cases which have come in has been imported, a lot by our GOP holders who've had people coming on work permit, a few returning residents, and a few visitors as well. But the good thing is how these cases have been handled. At the end of the day, COVID is there. It's going to be there for the next year or so until the vaccine comes in play. And as a country, we are highly dependent on tourism. We cannot keep our borders closed. That's suicidal as a country. We absolutely cannot do that. So for us, it was important that we are able to get a balance. We reopen the destination, but at the same time, we have procedures, protocols, risk filters in place to ensure that we are protecting the population, we are protecting the country. So it was important that when visitors come in, we have a set of protocols for the health workers, for the frontline tourism staff to make sure that they keep on doing their jobs, serving the visitors, but at the same time, they protect themselves. They are not putting themselves at risk. And I believe since we opened 1st August, all this time we've had visitors coming in. We've had no infection spread in the community. Like I said, it's only now recently, a few days ago, that we have the first 2 health workers being infected and 1 staff in the resort. And all this time we've been getting tourists, which means that the protocol, there must have been something good with it. And it was a lot of it. I have to say, it's not just been the authorities, Jürgen. The authorities are there to work on the protocols. The Public Health Authority, the Department of Tourism, they are there to put in place the protocols. But at the end of the day, you need your people to believe in these protocols and to follow it to the letter. And I have to say, as a Seychellois, I'm so, so proud of our country, of our citizens, especially the health worker here who are on the front line, the hotel staff who are on the front line. They have been doing an amazing job in following the protocols well to ensure that they're keeping themselves safe and they're keeping the country safe. Of course, given that we've not had community spread all this time, people started to get a bit complacent. And we've had to reinforce on communication. We've actually we launched a campaign together with SHTA, the Tourism Association from the private sector, the Department of Tourism. You must have followed that on eTurbo News. Tourism We, which means tourism yes, nationwide campaign to actually create a bit of awareness, like we need to reopen our industry, we need tourists back on our shores, but hey, we've got this, we know how to protect ourselves, and we all need to take our responsibility to keep the country safe. So we've been on the news, on the radio, on the TV, on social media, everywhere with the message to reinforce that the message that we need tourism, but we can still find that balance, bringing the industry back on its feet and protecting the population. But this is not the job of only the people in the authority. It's the job of everybody as a country, all of us, each of us, citizen of Seychelles. We need to work together to make this happen. And I'm happy that a lot of people do share the views as well, and which is important for us. But like you said, the numbers you are seeing, most we have, I think, 17 or 18 active cases for the moment, which have been the recent ones. But the big number you're seeing, everybody else have recovered since from the infection.
No, Sherin, definitely you do something right. I wanted to encourage anyone who wanted to add to it. I see two comments, one from Ismail and one from our friend Stephen from New York, and it's later in New York, so I know he must be interested in this subject. Please just jump in and say something. I also noticed and wanted to comment the importance for a country like Seychelles, how important tourism is. You recently had an election and you have a new government. And I understand your Minister of Tourism is also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I think this should tell you something right there, what the standard is and how the importance is seen for the tourism industry in the Seychelles. Isn't that right, Sherin?
Yes. Right now, like I've mentioned, our industry have been really, really hardly hit, and money is not coming in because this is our main source of revenue. It's through tourism, and foreign exchange are not coming in as much because again, tourism is contributes to 75% of our foreign exchange earnings for a year. So for the country, I think it was a wise move to move these two, though it's two giant ministries, to move it under one ministry. It's because also we need to find the synergy there in terms of how we can share resources and share resources and try to achieve greater result, but with less cost as much as possible. And it's a time where the country doesn't have as much money as it would from the previous years, and the move were practical on this level, where the two departments would actually, tourism would help foreign affairs would also help tourism, and where there's synergy, let us maximize on that. It's in a time where the country doesn't have money, but we still need to be able to bring the industry back on its feet, right? So, but also in terms of, I believe we also have a minister that have experience on both sides. He was the former ambassador for Seychelles in Paris. And so he had experience on the diplomatic side, but he was also a former CEO of the Seychelles Tourism Board. So he also had experience from the industry side, and so he's sort of have are able to manage both at the same time. But I think the move has been more to be able to create the synergies between foreign affairs and tourism in a time of crisis.
Good
Sherin,
morning, everyone. Jürgen, great to see you again. And Sherin, thank you
yes,
so much for being here. What I wanted to ask you now, what are the requirements for visitors entering into the Seychelles?
Okay. For anybody wanting to visit Seychelles, the first requirement is you have to check on our website whether the country is featured on the permitted list of countries, because we still have what we call the permitted list of countries, countries where citizens or residents from these countries can visit Seychelles. We
Right,
have two categories. We have two categories for the moment. One, the measures are a bit stricter than the other, and it's based on a set of criteria devised by our public health authority, where they weigh a little bit the level of risk of the country. So if your country feature in category one, you need, of course, the COVID-19 PCR test 72 hours prior to your
mm-hmm.
departure, the time of departure. And you need a travel insurance, specifically covering for any COVID-19 eventualities in there. And you need also to have your travel itinerary, because we do ask sometimes where because we need to see that you have booked in a certified accommodation. Um, uh, Part of the protocols, the risk filters, is that each and every establishment wanting to receive visitors right now, they have to have their SOP covering for safety of visitors in terms of COVID-19. So it has any visitors have to stay in a certified accommodations, and we are not allowing homestays for the moment because of the risk it comes with. So, and if you're coming from a category two countries where the risk level is a bit higher, then we are asking for a COVID-19 PCR test of 48 hours. It have to be within 48 hours of your time of departure. That is a bit of a challenge for us for certain countries, but it's something that we've not been able to negotiate with the Department of Public Health because, again, of the level of risk in those countries. And then these visitors, again, based on the risk level, they do have a set of certified accommodation, which is specific for category two countries. And again, there's a set of criteria as used for this, because those visitors, they have to stay within the resort premises for at least 6 days. On the 6th day morning, they will take another test. This is complimentary. The government takes charge of the cost of it. And if you test negative, then you're allowed to continue with your holiday as you would normally do. So you'd be able to do your island hopping. You can change accommodation if you want. You can go visit, but as long as you also keep on following the protocols, which is as much as possible social distance, and where you cannot, you wear your mask, the hand hygienes, the respiratory etiquettes, and all these things. And everybody now have to also apply for what we call the health travel authorizations via an app, or it's web-based. If you go on our website, you will see the link for that. So you have to submit all your travel documents, your COVID-19 PCR test document, and you will get approval via the app for your travel. You can even do it 3 hours before your departure, as long as you get the approval before you travel. And this is important again for on a level of just being able to see that everybody have their PCR test correct. And we remove that burden also from the airlines who have had to check each and every PCR test, and we are not even really experts in checking those certificates at the end of the day. So at least we have health professionals doing that for the moment. And of course, once you're in Seychelles, we have procedures at the airport as there would be in any airport. But with the health travel authorization, at least the screening is much faster because we've already done that layer of screening before you arrive. And hotels are also required to help us in the process by they have to check their breakfast time. For example, when visitors come from breakfast, they have to check their temperature in the morning, check them physically to see if they are not showing any symptoms, and they have to log a record daily to their public health officer, which take care of their region. They have to do that on a daily basis for all the visitors they are having in-house right now. But for the visitor, I would say a 6 day stay within a resort, it's not a quarantine because you have access to in-resort facilities, you have access to the beach, which would be adjacent to your property. Actually, we're getting a lot of feedbacks from visitors telling us, I'm enjoying my holiday. I don't even feel like I've been restricted to stay in a resort because it's not a quarantine at the end of the day. And of course, you can still enjoy your holiday. Seychelles is already a naturally socially distanced place. We don't have it's not a crowded tourist place, and it should be an easy choice for people right now to stay as
Quite
a
true.
holiday. Yeah.
Well, I think it might be, if I might say, the semantics of it all, because let's say, because being a travel advisor, I have quite a lot of clients, who have been interested in traveling to the Seychelles and the surrounding areas. Now, there are a lot of islands in the Caribbean and countries around the world whereby the requirements that my clients really find a bit troubling. That the most thing is the quarantine, in as much as, let's say, well, staying in the resort for 6 days is not a quarantine. However, let's say that they only have 7 days for a holiday. They have never been to the Seychelles. They want to go around to see the country, how beautiful it is, and meet, the people. But being in the resort alone for 6 days, they've got one more day left for their holiday. So they're not really going to have loads of time to do that. So they don't think, well, I've got to ask you, do you think it's feasible for them to do that, to fly all the way from the United States to get to the Seychelles, stay in the resort for 6 days, and they've got only 7 days for their holiday, and they only have one day left to go around?
I do understand there would definitely be people who, for them, this is like a no-go. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
say stuck inside for 6 days. This is not going to happen. And in reality, I have to acknowledge that we are losing a lot of business because of that.
There you go.
It's not
That's right.
all the countries, which is, we do have a lot of countries in category one. For example, Israel is one of them, which is the category one, where you are not subject to staying in your resort. It's only the category two countries. But in that case, United States is still not even on our list. I'm sad because United
So
States
are we.
is actually one of the countries where we are seeing pent-up demands, where we are getting a lot of queries, and where potentially could really help us in the recovery right now. But again, the list is not my it's not my decision. I can only try and
Right.
advocate as much as possible, but the doctors still have the say on the list of countries on this side because they do it on a scientific basis.
Right.
they've explained. But I do understand your point of view, and I do realize there are visitors for them. This would be like a no-go. They will only come to Seychelles the day they are able to be able to experience Seychelles fully, experience the people and destination and all the islands. Because at the end of the day, a Seychelles experience, this is what it's all about. It's about getting out of the resort and
Indeed, yes.
going to various islands. And this is what sets us apart to say, for example, the Maldives, because in Seychelles, you know, there's so much to do. We have the mountains, we have the walks and trails, and this is what people come to Seychelles for. They don't come to stay within the resort. You're absolutely right here. But it's just very unfortunate. I cannot, it's not something that is fully on me right now to,
Right. I understand that.
I can only advocate, but if you listen to the doctors from a public health point of view, they would tell you that the level of risk from citizens or residents coming from this country, it's a bit high, and it's a risk to allow visitors to be able to go and go in the community at a time when you still don't really know their status. We are very small. We are very small. We have a very small population, and we stand to lose more as a country if we do have community spread. We only 100,000 of us, and just look at that, the amount of deaths we've seen across the world from various countries. They can be, our population can be wiped out in a few days if we are not careful. So I think this is why our measures is a bit strict, but at the same time, we've tried to find a balance where we said, okay, no, not quarantine to your room, but at least you can choose a resort where you can go to the beach next, adjacent. It's a lot of our resorts are quite spread on large properties, so you still have a great outdoor even if you're within the resort. You can go to the island resort there, and the island resort, it's a lot of the island resort, it's one island, one hotel, so you can have access to a lot of more nature and things like that as well, as a choice as well. But I do understand your point. But it's valid.
And
Thank you.
Even a big country like this, Sherin, like the US, we had this discussion here in Hawaii today, because we wanted to have tourism bubbles established with Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, for example, where COVID is quite a bit lower than the rest in our own country. And these countries, even though we're offering it to them, their foreign minister says, no, you're part of the United States. No way, even though we're fine here in Hawaii, we're like the Seychelles in a lot of ways. So I understand it's a balancing act, you know, what to do, right? And the numbers, I think, speak for itself when you look at Seychelles. I have Ismail. He was patiently waiting to say something. I think you're joining us from Tanzania.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good morning from Tanzania. This is morning.
Yeah,
Yes.
good morning.
8:40. So that's why you can see I'm taking some coffee. Nice to meet you guys.
Pleasure.
On this virtual meeting.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice to have you. And I know you're almost neighbors with Seychelles.
Exactly.
Yes. We don't have a direct yet. You have to go through Nairobi or through Johannesburg to come to Seychelles for the moment.
But
yeah, of course, yeah.
You had a question or a comment for Sherin Ismail?
I have a comment and maybe an appreciation for the great presentation from Sherin, because Seychelles is our selling destination. We have been selling East Africa for past years, Kenya and Tanzania, especially for wildlife and cultural experience, and now started to expand our network. And Seychelles is one of our coming partner. If you can have a look to our website, which is under construction, you can see some countries over there. So I've never been to Seychelles, though I'm so impressed to sell Seychelles.
You're missing out a lot.
But,
should be on your bucket list.
I will come. I will come for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We had one more. We had Terence Regum. Is that correct?
Possibly next year.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm.
you very much, Ismail.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
thank
in
you.
Berkeley. I'm in Berkeley, and actually, I was wondering, South Africa is open to U.S. citizens. Can U.S. citizens take a week out of their South African tour and visit the Seychelles, or are they restricted?
Actually, not a week according to the public health guidelines. If you've been into a permitted country for 2 weeks, you can actually come to Seychelles. So if you're from North America, from US, for example, which is not yet on our permitted list, if you spend 2 weeks in South Africa, you can actually enter Seychelles.
Oh, that's a way of doing it, you know.
Yes, and we are actually getting visitors doing that
Yeah.
as well. Yes.
Yeah. I've been to the Seychelles, and they're unique islands, more than, you know, you have those wonderful, on Male, you have one of those granite rocks, you know, the granite boulders. And the only other place I've seen that is in the British Virgin Islands. And it's really beautiful. Also you have the Coco de Mer.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're marketing us. Yes, the double-sided net. Yes, that's very unique to us. That's our trademark, the Coco de Mer net. Yes. I wish I had one I could show you. It's a bit far from my table. I could show to the rest people on the webinar here to see. This is why Seychelles is probably, from the World Travel Awards, we just won the award for the world most romantic destination. And I think it has something to do with the Coco de Mer, because it's people termed it as a very erotic nut. It evokes love and romance, and a lot of people come to Seychelles to get married, for romance as couples, to reunite, to rekindle the flame. So we're very, very known for that.
Oh, so many. Thank you so much again. Are there any other questions? We're about at the end of the time we have allocated, but if there's any more questions, feel free to raise your hand or just speak out. No, doesn't look at this time, but Sherin, I'm sure there is a lot more we need to feature the Seychelles a lot more and follow what you're doing. And I hope you're going to open up your country again out to the rest of the world, like all of us hope. And you gave some really, really good insight. Just one thing I was wondering, you mentioned your arrivals for people coming with private jets had really not decreased. Well, where are these people coming from?
A little bit from everywhere, because private jets, we don't have restriction of countries. The reason for that is because they make application directly to us, so it's a bit much easier to monitor as well, to get as much information from them before they travel. And we are limiting them also to private islands, so the private islands sort of already separate them from the population as well. The various islands, it's not just private. So we're getting them from Russia, from UK, from the Middle East, from United States. So it's a little bit from everywhere right now. Okay. And like I said, private jets, it's open to any countries as well.
So if you have the pocket change to afford a private jet and you really want to go and visit the Seychelles, here's your loophole, right?
And it's big business out there. So I'm seeing a lot of private jet companies are selling the second leg for cheaper. So for example, if they are going to bring passengers to Seychelles and they have a free leg, they would sell it for cheaper. They're advertising it as well. So I think even private jets are reinventing a way they do business to try and get more people to use private jets as much as possible.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Sherin. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. And thank you, for listening and watching us. Wanted to remind one more time, we have many more sessions coming up within December where we celebrate the launch for World Tourism Network. Just simply go to wtn.travel and you can click on the event banner on the top and you find what is next. For example, tomorrow morning US time, we have a very interesting session with in regards to the future of aviation. We have another interesting session about the future of aviation with VJ, a former a VP for Etihad Airways in a few days. So there's a lot coming up, and for sure don't miss our keynote address on December 10th with Her Excellency Mao from Bahrain. She's running currently for Secretary General for the UNWTO, and we have a number of ministers from around the world joining this session. And I hope if you're not a member yet of WTN, .travel, just go and sign up. We currently have about a little bit more than 1,000 members in 122 countries. We'll be announcing on December 9th a number of chapters. The idea for WTN is really to build this organization from the bottom to the top. So the chapters will be in charge. The chapters will be the driving force of this organization. And if everything works out fine, we're going to have 11 chapters to announce on December 9th. And then we have think tanks and other groups that will be announced. And these are discussion groups also led by people who are passionate about this, where other members and anyone else can participate. We welcome media to become media partners and work with us. And we're all excited to play this little role in the world to get through this, get back to normal, and continue enjoying our travel industry and our traveling. And it'll be a new world. And as Sherin, I think, gave a lot of insight how this world could look like. And yes, and protecting the environment and climate change is a major factor. And I think people realize now even more than they realized before. Well, again, Sherin, thank you so much for being on our discussion today, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon. And my best regards to everyone in the Seychelles. As I said, it's like my almost I feel like my second
home.
Yeah, no, and I miss you guys, and I can't wait till you allow me to come back.
I know. I can wait for me to start meeting people again and stop seeing you all via my computer screen. It was an absolute pleasure, Jürgen, to be on your platform and to share my ideas on things. And anytime you want me back on there, I'll be very happy to come back. Thank you, everybody, for your question. I've left on the chat my email address as well for anybody who wants to get in touch with me, or you can do so via Jürgen as well. We're constantly in touch. And I'm here if you need me. Very happy to have shared
I think
my
we
knowledge.
have a profile for you. If I'm not mistaken, I think you did join. Then there is, just look under Seychelles and you will find Sherin's profile.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.